Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the inaugural episode of Scared Shitless, the show where we dissect a piece of horror media like it was Maureen Prescott on date night. That, for anyone interested, is a spoiler warning. I am your host, Ryan, and this week I am joined by Al.
Hello.
Ali.
How you doing, guys?
And Jamie.
Hi.
And this week we are going to be looking at the 1996 slasher classic Scream, written by Kevin Williamson, who also done the screenplay for I Know What You Did Last Summer, and Dawson's Creek, strangely enough, and directed by horror legend Wes Craven, best known for the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, but also director of The Hills Have Eyes and Last House on the Left, and starring Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, Jamie Kennedy, Rose McGowan, Skeet Ulrich, Matthew Lillard, and Drew Barrymore. 1 year after the murder of her mother, Sydney Prescott is terrorized by a mass killer out to get her and her friends. So yeah, that's intro to the movie. Scream, the first horror movie to be so meta. We decided to start with this. Jamie is not very familiar with horror as a genre in general, so I thought this would be a good intro to horror because it doesn't take itself too seriously. And there's what did you think, Jamie? Was it right? Was it a good?
This movie brings my total amount of horror movies up to 4.
4 horror movies, okay.
So that's about the extent of my
Out of interest, Jamie, what are the other ones?
28 Days Later, and I can't remember the other ones. I told Ryan, but we're recording and now I've just forgotten everything.
One of them was the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie,
yeah,
which you actually watched at mine.
I watched it Ryan's, and then the first other one. What was that other one we watched?
I don't remember.
We watched the first Friday the 13th, and then the first one with Jason.
Yeah, that's Friday the 13th. Well, wait, I mean, Jason's not in Friday the 13th.
No, we watched Friday the 13th, and then the first in Elm Street, maybe?
Nightmare on Elm Street, yeah. First one with Freddy.
I'm pretty sure I've watched one more, but I can't remember what it is.
So, Scream.
I liked it. I thought it was really, really good. Yeah.
You think it's a good intro to horror? You think it's I think it's a great movie. Like, if someone doesn't like horror, but they want to watch, like, I'm trying to get them to watch a horror film, this is the film I would recommend to them. Well,
it certainly made me want to watch more of the Scream franchise.
That's a good start because we have 3 more films coming up.
Yeah.
So that works.
Because I had one.
Nice.
I was like, wait, they've caught the killers. Now what? Like, he's dead. They're both dead. No.
Okay, so moving on from that, without answering Jamie's question, because the spoilers are for this movie, not future movies.
Okay, so they're not dead. Dum.
This is, I mean, one of the best things about this film, at least I think so, when I first watched it, was the whodunit element. So, Al, you've seen the film before multiple times, much like myself.
Yeah.
The first time you watched it, do you remember knowing who did it, or did you know before you saw it? Or
no, I think I was pretty much just going along with the story, and it was her boyfriend definitely done it. He definitely done it. Oh fuck, he can't have done it. So who did? And I never the first time I watched it, I hadn't even thought about the two of them pairing up and basically working as a team.
What about you, Ali?
Well, the first time I saw this was in my mid to late teens, and then throughout the years I've just sort of watched it on and off again. But the first time I seen it, for some reason in the back of my head, as soon as he came in through the window, when Nev Campbell gets that.
So I'm going to stop and explain for anyone who may have not seen it. Ali's talking about Sydney Prescott's boyfriend, Billy Loomis, climbs in through the window, which is
looking creepy as fuck.
Looking creepy as fuck, which is actually a reference to Nightmare on Elm Street when Johnny Depp's character climbs through Nancy's window in that film, and Skeet Ulrich actually somewhat resembles Johnny Depp did in that movie because of the haircut and everything, which is by no accident as part of the reason they cast him. But anyway, yeah, he climbs in through the window, and that you thought that was suspicious.
He's the killer. That's for some reason in my mid to late teens, that thought just came over my head instantly. But I didn't get that there was a tag team. I didn't realize that both of them were doing it.
It's funny. First time I saw this, I watched it at my dad's. I was 13, and we were sitting watching it, and there was one point in the movie where I said, "There's two of them," and my dad's wife and that looked at me, "No, there's not fucking two of them. There were fucking two of them." And I knew it because of how quickly it happened. Like they went from Ghostface was in one place and then he was somewhere else, and there was either two of them or he was fucking teleporting.
Because the references to other horror movies, and they had the mask and stuff. Was this character in another movie?
No, the mask was designed specifically for Scream. And it was actually designed after quite a famous painting. I think it's called The Screamer, where it's like.
It is, yeah.
So they actually try to design the mask to somewhat resemble that. But I mean, he wasn't even supposed to be called Ghostface. Like in the scene in is it the principal's office or the police have the costume and they hold it up? He was actually supposed to be called Father Death. But Tatum, Rose McGowan's character, says somewhat sarkily in the garage scene, "Oh no, Mr. Ghostface," and that just caught on.
He was also meant to be all in white.
I didn't know that.
He was meant to be all in white, but when they tried it out, they were worried he looked too much like a Klan member, so they changed it. That's genuinely the reason I read up, is that it looked too much like basically a Klan outfit. So that we can't have that. We'll make it black because then he's a bit creepier.
But speaking of sticking to Ghostface, Jamie, and the whodunit element, were you able to? Did you know who did it? I mean, you're the only one who's not seen it.
I was sort of biased by Scary Movie. I was leaning towards the detective Dewey doing it.
You thought it was Dewey.
I thought it was Dewey just because obviously it was so weird watching this film because I'm like, oh wait, I've seen this scene before. No, I've not. It's a Scary Movie.
that really came to me because I've watched Scary Movie quite a lot. I mean, it came out in my teenage years, so it was that I was the proper demographic for Scary Movie, and I've seen it loads. And rewatching Scream, I was just like, oh my god, is that a lot of the scenes are shot for shot, just about.
Yeah, I know.
And they've only changed the slightest things.
Yeah, weird deja vu. I was like, this is odd.
I've never seen this film, but I feel like I've seen this film.
I remember the fourth horror movie I've seen. If anyone's interested.
Yes, we are.
Go for it. We are.
It was It.
So I'm assuming the remake, not the original miniseries.
Movie. It was a movie, and I watched it. Had the clown in it.
Okay, fair enough. So, right. Well, I suppose. So you thought it was Deputy Dewey, who?
Well, I don't know if Scary Movie was sort of. I had no idea who it was. Basically, I was just waiting.
Well, I know for a fact. I
suspected the boyfriend initially, but then the sort of him calling at the police station and him getting released. I was like, nah, it's not him, and they're not going to circle back to that. It'll be somebody else.
Yeah,
but I wasn't expecting two people.
Spoilers.
To be in on it.
They did circle back to that. It was in fact the boyfriend, Billy Loomis, and it was also Stu, played by Matthew Lillard. Yeah.
creepy
Who
bastard.
I've got to say, his performance in this film was phenomenal. I mean, I think
Right.
everybody was very good. I think that's one of the strengths of this film. They had a really strong cast for everything. I think
they
everybody.
they were brilliant psychopaths. Like at the end, I was just like, these guys
Yeah.
are creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
Just like stabbing each other and like, oh my god, it was pretty creepy.
You stabbed me too deep, man.
Yeah. I'm feeling a little woozy here. So good. Yeah, they were both phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So I mean, I suppose while we're talking about that scene, their motivations. What did you think of them? For Maureen Prescott sleeping with Billy's dad and him essentially just having blue balls. What do you think of that for a motivation for a killing spree?
Well, nobody's motivations for killing spree are usually that logical. So plenty of people have killed for a lot less. I could see some fucking idiot going off on one for that.
It's true. It's true. I mean, he was definitely psychotic
Yes.
in general, so I don't think he needed a lot to push him over the edge.
No.
So the motivations work for me. It's more Stu. His motivations we don't quite get.
Yeah, why he's decided to tag along and get into it. But
yeah, when asked, the only explanation he gives is peer pressure.
he does. Yeah,
that's all it is, peer pressure. But realistically,
No, you just twisted his arm. Then that's all it was.
I think so. Yeah, I think he was Billy's best friend. I think he was kind of just willing to go along with Billy in general.
It's like a pretty shit motivation for such a well orchestrated sort of thing they had going down, the phone calls and making sure they're at the right door. It just seems a bit too much for him not to have a better motivation than that.
See, there is a point in that end scene, one point in particular, where Stu he's almost resting his chin on Billy's shoulder and he looks at him. And nothing's said. Like they're talking to Sydney, being all threatening and shit. I'm like,
man.
Yeah, I genuinely like. Yeah. Is he in love with Billy? Now it's never said. You may need to watch it again to. I mean, I've seen this film. I don't know how many times, and maybe I am seeing gay where there is none. But it would make sense to me if Stu was total into Billy and he's like, yeah, fuck it, let's kill Billy's girlfriend and everyone else just for the shits and giggles. Billy's up for it, so let's do it.
It'd be a very strong motivation to kill Sid, and then just 100%. The rest of it, he would just be going along.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. I like it.
Anyway, that's if anyone listening has any better theories, please drop them in the comments. I am very interested to hear what you think of Stu and his motivations as a serial killer. But while we're talking about the killers and whatnot, there actually weren't many deaths in this movie. Like for a slasher film, the death count is pretty low. There is a total of 7 kills in this film that we see. And 2 of those kills were Billy and Stu themselves. We only see Billy and Stu kill 5 people. We see him first, they kill Steve and then Casey. I'm going to stop talking about the rest of the kills now because I just want to say that opening scene, in my opinion, is one of the greatest, if not the greatest opening scene in horror history. I think it is fucking phenomenal.
Oh, it's brilliant.
I was going to talk about how good the opening was.
Yes. From the phone calls.
Drew Barrymore when she read that script.
Drew Barrymore originally was supposed to play Sydney.
Was she? All right.
But there were conflicts where she couldn't play Sydney due to some other role she was having to do.
She was in Batman Forever as well at the time.
I have no idea. But she, because she couldn't play Sydney, she stepped down to play Casey instead.
That would make sense because apparently she did all of her shooting in the first 5 days.
Yeah.
And that was her done in a way.
And she was like, it's going to have so much impact killing her off in the opening scene, because at the time she was she still is arguably the biggest name in the entire movie.
Yeah.
So, she's been famous since she was 11 years old or some shit with E.T. And so killing her off in the opening, she thought would be a real shock for people. And she put everything into that performance. Like, her performance was outstanding. Like, the level of performance you don't often get in horror movies. It was a super scary opening scene, in my opinion. It really, really did it well. And with the callbacks to horror, and just with you saying, Jamie, about Jason being in Friday the 13th. Well, that's the kind of question that gets Steve's stomach slit open and his insides on his outside.
Yeah, she got him killed because he wasn't in. Well, he didn't appear until the sequel, right?
He was in the second part. Yeah, the killer in Friday the 13th was in fact Jason's mom, Mrs. Voorhees, played by Pamela Greer. I don't know. That doesn't matter. That's the wrong film anyway. So yeah, I just wanted to say amazing opening scene, and super. While we don't see them kill Steve, the lights just go out, and then when it opens up, his stomach's slit and his intestines are out. The way they kill Casey is pretty graphic. She gets stabbed to shit, strangled, and then hung from a swing on her own porch and
in her own garden.
Yeah, and when the part where she tries to scream at her mom and dad, and she's just got nothing because she's been strangled and stabbed in the neck. It's
and when the mom and dad picked up the phone and they could just hear, her clearly in pain or whatever, and then it just cuts. Because it was the cut shots where he had the big, what was it, a scythe or a knife, and it was just going between.
Knife. Yeah,
it was great. I mean, a great opening sequence. It was quite scary. Glad I watched it during the day.
What time did we watch that, Ryan? At 9:30 at night or something, 10 o'clock.
Yeah, about that. I mean, it's the only time I get to watch movies is in the evening. But I love a horror. I love a horror at night. It adds, the dark adds to the.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm just watching it on my laptop. I'm not sticking this through the 5.1 because I'm going to scare myself.
So they're the first two kills, which are pretty graphic and a pretty intense way of opening the movie, and a way showing that they're not fucking about, despite the humor that's in it, despite the meta, despite all the other horror references in it, not taking itself seriously. It still shows you at the end of the day we are a fucking horror film.
I mean, that setup, you wouldn't think there was there was a lot of comedy.
Yes.
After that, lots of jokes and stuff. I wasn't expecting that. When
it's almost like two different movies. You've got the start is super serious and it's a proper die-hard horror movie, and then they kind of go, yeah, well, we're not going to do exactly that. We're actually going to have a bit of a laugh with this.
It bits. I thought it was like a spoof.
Yeah,
that's fair. That's fair.
It totally wasn't. It was just
it definitely wasn't. It was just a bit tongue in cheek, and it was the first film that was kind of willing to do that. And this one, I feel, done it perfectly. I do feel it done it so well.
The fact that they had Wes Craven put himself in the movie dressed as Freddy Krueger being the janitor was absolutely class as well. I love that.
Wes Craven? I never noticed.
That's Wes Craven, yeah.
Was it? Yeah. That's fantastic. That is really good.
I just thought it was such a nice week because it's a fraction of a second shot that just pans over him and then it's away. But I like that.
But back to the kills. The third kill we see in the movie was the Principal Arthur Himbry, played by the Fawns. And I mean, his death, you felt bad for the guy. He's getting stabbed.
I love
and he looks so like, why are you doing this to me? I'm the Fawns. And it's no, they're stabbing the Fawns.
To be fair, they thoughts were going through my head each time I watched it.
He even had his Fawn's jacket hanging up in the background.
He did.
That's right. Yeah, I saw that.
It's it's pretty traumatic, you know. It's and he had like tears in his eyes. He looked so sad, and it looked like if he wasn't dying, he would say to them, "I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed."
I loved the scene, you know, after those guys like ran through the hall when he was, you know,
Yes.
dressed up as Scream. And he takes him into the office and he starts, what did they have? Some shears or whatever, just cutting up the mask. And then he's just like, "You're fucking expelled. Get out of here."
Yeah, he's absolutely raging with them. He's, you know, 2 of your classmates die, and this is how you behave. Yeah.
I was like, good on you. Like telling
William
arseholes they're
Skinner
arseholes is something
was
teachers can't do anymore.
Yeah, he was not impressed. Sorry, Ali, what was it you said there?
The way he said it, though, it was as if he expected better from them.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, that's again, I think he plays it very. I like him. He's just a likable guy, and I think if he was your principal in real life, you would want to make him happy. Like, you would want him to like you. Yeah. So, well, so the next death, the fourth death in the movie is Tatum, killed by the strongest garage door motor in the history of garage door motors. So she's in the garage with Ghostface after Stu asks him to fetch him a beer, where she thinks, you know, she doesn't take it seriously until he whips out a knife and slices her arm.
And then falls over more times than any killer ever.
Yeah,
he is a bit clumsy, isn't he? Ghostface. Like, he just sort of lurches, and, like, you know, if they're there, great. If they're not, we'll just lurch again and another, and you just, you know, just walk into that fridge door, you know.
To be fair,
in my
I think,
mind, it's very much
masks are
Matthew
quite
Lillard.
restrictive and whatnot. You think it's Matthew Lillard? Do you think Stu?
Yeah,
killed?
I think it's Matthew Lillard that kills her, just because of like what a fucking bomb scare he is in that garage. Like, it's almost pure dumb luck that he actually manages to kill her.
Well, what I have noticed, I mean, I did read that apparently it is the same guy in the costume for all the kills. It's a stuntman.
Yeah.
With the exception of the scene where Randy is watching Halloween. Apparently it is Skeet Ulrich, the guy who plays Billy, who comes up behind him in that, just because he wanted a shot wearing the costume. But for the rest of it, it is a stuntman wearing it. But what was interesting, and I noticed on this viewing, because I was watching it very, very closely, is you can tell there are two different killers because they hold the knives in different ways. So one of the killers always holds the knife in one hand.
Yeah.
And this killer has a habit of strangling people and, like, you know, before he slices them and stuff. The other killer often raises the knife with both hands. So I'm not sure which one's which. I would guess that the guy who holds it in one hand is maybe Billy, because I'm pretty sure Billy does strangle Sydney when they're fighting.
That's what I was leaning towards as well.
Which makes me think it's him, and also I believe it was the two-handed killer who cuts open Casey. I may be wrong there, but and Stu outside the school is actually talking in one of the scenes. You know, Tatum, I saw, how do you even gut somebody? And Stu's like, well,
right. Yeah, I know exactly how you do
that. But it's interesting.
Like,
I mean,
it's fish.
it's obviously never said, but I mean, if we were to watch it super closely and go through it with a fine tooth comb, we could probably work out who killed who, which I think is a nice little touch. You know, it's it's probably there if you're willing to watch it close enough to work it out. As is, I don't really know who killed who, but I do know the garage door killed Tatum. And well, I mean, take that what you will. The final kill that the killers achieve was Kenny, the cameraman, who was on his way to save Randy, you know, and then he realized there was a delay turns round and gets his throat slit for his hassle. It's a shame. He was, he seemed like a nice guy from what little we got of him. When Gail says, we might be able to save an innocent man here, because Cotton Weary is on death row, or at least in prison for killing Maureen, a crime that he did not commit. And Kenny's looks visibly excited by the prospect of being able to free and save an innocent man. And Gail's like, you know what this is going to do for my book sales?
Was it she said at one point, is a cheesy tabloid reporter ever won the Pulitzer?
Yes. So she, I think he was, from what little we got of Kenny, he was a nice guy. And clearly trying to be at least somewhat heroic. He was going to save Randy, or at least going to try, and he died for his hassle.
When she got punched in the face, that was great.
when Sydney punched Gail.
Yeah. Yeah, that was great.
Well, I suppose since we're speaking of it, what did you think of Neve Campbell's performance as Sydney Prescott?
I thought she was really good.
Ali?
That was actually my introduction to Neve Campbell. So when I was younger, I know she done Party of Five as well, but I really liked the performance.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I already said, I think everyone was stellar in this. I think performances were fantastic across the board. That includes, Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette. I genuinely think everybody was really good in this film. But then Stu and Billy die. The final two kills we see in the movie. There are a few fake out kills, such as Randy, who Billy shoots, but he survives, and he goes on to say that he's never been so happy to be a virgin.
Yeah, brilliant.
We see Dewey.
I think one of my favorite kills. It was going to be my favorite kill until I realized he was alive. Was
okay.
After they'd had sex, and he was like, "What do I need to do to
prove to you
that I'm not the killer?" He's like coming up and like stabs. I was like, "He's definitely not the killer. He's dead."
Yeah. It looks like Billy's.
I thought that was brilliant, and
that
was going to be my favorite kill because it was just like, "What do I need to do to prove?"
Yeah, but in fact, it was corn syrup, fake blood.
It was a cheap trick. Yeah.
So we see Dewey get stabbed in the back, so it looks like he dies, but again, he doesn't, survives. And Gail, we see, they think she dies in the car crash, and they even say, Billy says to Stu, I thought she was dead, and Stu's like, she looked dead, still does. So they kind of faked us out with 3 kills. Billy and Stu, they both get stabbed to shit, but they do that to each other. Then Stu gets a TV dropped onto his head. By the way,
the big electrocution, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was nice.
That was great, yeah.
And then Billy gets stabbed a couple of times with an umbrella. Then he gets shot, and then comes back for one last scare and gets shot clean through the head. So that was also pretty nice. So out of all 7 kills that we got, which was your favorite, Al?
Oh, Drew Barrymore, because it was the most brutal.
Okay, it was.
The whole, basically what we were talking about, the whole she's trying to call for help and can't, and then the fact that they go to the effort of basically slitting her stomach open and then hanging her from the swing. Just just the image of her hanging there when the parents come out. I was like, aye.
Yeah, it was definitely pretty creepy.
It was. Jamie, what was your favorite kill?
It's got to be the electrocution.
Stu getting the TV dropped on his head.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was great, and it was just so over the top electrical noises, like. Yeah, it was great.
Ali?
Mine was actually the garage scene.
Tatum
It's just-
getting killed
Yeah,
with the
it was-
garage. Okay.
It was just the effect of our head going squish the way it was. It was like, that is a cool effect. Just that whole effect was really, really cool.
Okay. And I'm going to side with Al and go with Casey. I think her death was pretty brutal. And then her being hung from her swing set in her garden was just
pretty
topped
disturbing.
off. And you know, our parents finding her with her insides on her outside. Yeah, it's pretty messed up. So okay,
I think
favorite.
I think the moral of the story is, when you're confronting two psychopaths, make sure the fucking safety on the gun.
Okay,
check your weapon.
favorite quote from the movie. I will start with you, Jamie.
I wasn't looking out for one, man. I can't really remember.
Fair enough. Al.
Yeah, I had a couple that I quite liked. I liked Dewey standing there going, "He's my superior," and then Taram's like, "The janitor is your superior," just because it made me laugh.
Superior.
Yeah, that was fun.
And what was it? There were Courtney Cox. It was something along the lines of, "I'm really sorry, Kenny, but get off my fucking windshield."
Yeah, when he's
I'm really sorry
you're
you're dead, Kenny, but get off my fucking windshield, or something like that.
Yeah. Ali?
Yeah, I'm siding with Al on that. Actually, that was pretty a cool one. So I'd definitely say that.
My personal favorite was actually is actually a line from Psycho. It's we all go a little mad sometimes, but Billy delivers it, and when he turns around and shoots Randy, and it's the reveal that he's the killer, and I thought he delivered the line very well. Probably not as well as Anthony Hopkins, who played Norman Bates. That's some big shoes to fill, but I think the line was really good, and then in conjunction with it being the reveal of him being the bad guy, I just think it worked perfectly. So
yeah, the timing just worked well.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've remembered a quote.
What's the quote?
It's
You say,
it's
"What's your
one-
favorite scary movie?" We're moving past you.
No, it's right at the end where the guy was explaining the rules of horror films. He comes back for one more like scare, and she's like, "Not in my movie." Boom.
That's true. So speaking
was a good
of, before we leave, let's quickly mention the rules of the horror movie as described by Randy. So no sex, no drink or drugs, and never say, "I'll be right back."
I'll be right back.
So what do you think of the rules?
And then the guy in the party is like, "You want a beer? Yeah. All right, I'll be right back."
I'll be right back. Yeah,
Just like, fuck you,
Fantastic.
man. I don't give a your rules. Your rules suck.
Well, I love the addition of the rules of a horror movie. It's everybody's known them. Putting them in the movie is actually, I think, really good, really fun, and it was a good way of saying, look, these characters are like you. They know the rules, but it's not going to fucking help them. They're still going to die.
You can know the rules all you want. You're still going to die.
Yes.
You know what I liked about this movie? It wasn't, it felt really real. There wasn't like a guy invading your dreams or whatever. It was actually a small town, and it was a guy in a mask. It felt like it could happen somewhere.
Yes. Which was the entire point. But right, so moving on, because we've been going on for a while, so let's go on to the ratings. So Ali, how out of a grand total of 5 stab wounds, how would you rate this movie?
I'm gonna give it let's go for a 4.5 stab wounds.
4.5. That's like 4 stabs and a slash. I like it. Jamie?
A couple of stitches.
As we said before, like I've got very little experience of horror movies, so I've got no idea where to peg this because I've not got much experience to put it against.
Just go with how much did you enjoy it?
I'll go with I really enjoyed it, so I'm going to give it 5.
5 stab wounds. Nice. That is a fatality. Al?
Same as Ali, 4.5. It's right. It's everything you want from. I quite like the horror comedy sort of thing, and I think it almost does fall into that horror comedy category because they're quite happy to take the piss out of themselves as well. But then you do have this serious, scary scenes that are properly creepy as well. So
yes. Okay, and I will go for. I'll actually go for the same as you guys and give it 4.5. From the opening scene is a 5, and the opening scene's a 10. But for me, it just doesn't quite maintain the level it was at with the opening scene. It just drops down ever so slightly.
5 stars. 5 stars.
But definitely 4.5. I absolutely love it. So okay, that's it from us this week. Thank you all for joining us, assuming anyone did actually fucking join us. So
and make it to the end.
Yes. Tune in next week where we will be covering Scream 2. You could if you're interested, find Jamie over on his YouTube channel, which is where, Jamie?
You can find me at Potter Nerd. It's a Harry Potter YouTube channel, and I'm also Potter Nerd TikTok if you're more into TikTok.
And you could find Ali over at his shit. Where's that, Ali?
It is Aldo SJ McLaren is what I go by on my YouTube channel. For anybody that's interested, it's a pro wrestling sci-fi comic book channel. So if any of those 3 tickle your fancy, click on Ryan's description down below and check me out, please.
And if you've made it this far, drop us a like and let us know in the comment section if you were scared shitless. And we will be back for one last scare.